right, so when we're finding a confidence interval for P, we're going to have 4 steps. Our first couple of steps are going to look very, very familiar to what we saw in section 7.3. So step number 1 is going to be to check our conditions of the central limit theorem. So we're still going to check that our sample is random and independent. We are going to check that we have a large enough sample. Again, as we did in the last section, we're going to check this by doing 2 multiplications. And then we're going to check that we have a large enough population. And our population, again, we're going to check by doing 1 multiplication. So step 1 is going to be very, very similar to what we saw in section 7.3. All right, step 2, find our standard error estimate. Right, now the difference between what we saw in the last chapter and what we're seeing here, instead of just seeing SE, we see SEEST, and instead of just seeing P's, we see P hats, but it's the same basic formula. Again, the difference between our standard error and our standard error estimate is whether we're dealing with information about a population or a sample, but our formula, the setup is still pretty much the same. Right, our margin of error, which we just talked about, we're going to take a Z star value from that table on page 24 in our notes, and then we're going to multiply it by our standard error. And then we're going to find and interpret our interval. Right, so in the next few examples, we're going to go through and walk through and do a bunch of these by hand, and then we'll also take a quick example to go through and talk about how we can do this on using StatCrunch, and there will be extra information posted as well about